Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Luis Chavez. I'm a photographer and filmmaker based out of Southern California, and today I'm going to be talking about the Fujifilm X100V. Ever since I started my YouTube channel, which was like 3 videos ago, people have been asking me a lot about this camera, so I reached out to Fuji and asked them if I could get a review unit so I could get a hands-on to see if I can make a video for everybody to kind of see the differences between cameras. So thank you so much, Fuji, for sending this out to me. I've had it for about a month and now I'm ready to talk about it. So just like my other reviews, this review is not going to be a technical review and more of a hands-on review, since, with modern cameras, I think every camera is capable, but there's different cameras for different people and different people prefer different things. So depending on what your preference is, this camera might be great for you or it might be not the best for the type of shooting that you do. So like I said in the past, I'm a photographer, so I work with cameras all the time. So I'm used to shooting with Canon C200s, A7 IIIs and all that stuff, but I'm always looking to have smaller and smaller cameras for my personal work, because just my work cameras, I don't see them as like fun cameras. I see them more of like my tools, and like all these cameras are all tools, but I think the more fun the camera is, the more you want to shoot with it. And so with the Fujifilm X100V, this camera is definitely really, really fun to shoot with. And I was really impressed by how much fun I had shooting with it, but also the way that it handled everything I threw at it. So earlier this month, my wife and I took a road trip down to Colorado since the leaves are changing now that it's fall. And I've never been to Colorado, so I took this camera with me. And so I started shooting with it right in the car. And I shot a little bit of video, and this is gonna be my first con with the camera. Not so much, the video quality is amazing, and I took 1 or 2 snapshots of video, but the thing I noticed right away is that since this camera doesn't have image stabilization for video, it's really shaky. So since the camera is really lightweight, which is a big pro, it doesn't have that extra heft that cameras with no image stabilization have. So it's a little bit easier to get handheld footage, but with this, you're not gonna get that. So video is a big aspect for you, or a big thing for you. This might not be the best camera, although it does take beautiful video, or if you choose to shoot video with a tripod. So most of you guys know that I like to shoot all of my photos in RAW, but since I was reviewing this camera, I also want to take some photos in JPEG, since Fuji's are kind of known for how beautiful their JPEGs are. So I'll try to put both JPEGs and RAW photos up on the screen as I talk about them, since I shot both. And you can see kind of the quality of the JPEGs and the RAWs. I started out the trip shooting in the new profile, but I quickly changed to Pro Negative Standard, which it was a little bit nicer to my eye. But I know a lot of people really like the classic negative look, which to me, I wasn't the biggest fan of, but I know a lot of people really love. But for me to shoot, the profile that I preferred was Pro Negative Standard. Just so it's a little bit more saturated and it's a little bit more pleasing to my eye, and kind of a little bit closer to what I would edit in post. So the new redesigned lens that Fuji put in this camera, the f2 lens, is really quite more sharp than the last one. I had the Fujifilm X100F for a little bit, but I didn't hold on to it very long. But I did notice that the sharpness in this is vastly improved, and which is awesome, because I like to shoot wide open as much as possible. And most of my professional work are portraits, so I'd like to take portraits of like family and friends. So I took a couple portraits on this trip in the fall foliage and some of the scenic lookouts. So as you can see in this photo, you still get that background blur that you get with bigger cameras and with interchangeable lenses, but you still have that portability of a smaller camera with a fixed lens. So one of the things I love the most about the Fujifilm X100V is the dials. It has so many actual dials, and they're placed in places that just make sense, just like the Leica Q2. It just has great controls, and one thing that this camera has that the Leica didn't have, that kind of annoyed me a little bit, was this ISO dial. It pops up and it stays there, and you can change your ISO, and it's right there next to the shutter speed dial, which I really, really appreciate. So as much as I loved the sharpness of this lens, what I do with a lot of my personal work, I put a Pro Mist filter on the lens because I just like the blooming of highlights a lot, especially at nighttime. So I took a couple nighttime shots with a Pro Mist filter, and this, I don't know if it's supposed to be a low light camera, but it the way I like to shoot, it did really, really well. And since I don't shoot much at nighttime, I didn't really see a difference whether or not I liked it more or less than like a Sony a7 III, which I'm used to shooting in quite low light pretty often. So if you're looking for a camera that has the flexibility of a bigger camera and kind of more dials than like a point and shoot, I think the Fujifilm X100V has all the qualities that you might want, especially since this new model has a little flip screen. And to be honest with you, I kind of forgot that it was there. So for people who are kind of concerned that, you know, the addition of this screen is going to like somehow make the experience less enjoyable, I would not worry about it. I forgot that it was there since it's so low profile, but the times I would remember that it was there and I needed to take a shot from like, you know, waist level, it was great to have. So to answer the question that inspired this video and all the videos I've done so far is the Fujifilm X100V better than a Ricoh GRIII or a Leica Q2? And my answer is, well, it depends. And maybe it's not the answer that you want, but I think it depends, like I said at the beginning of this video. So for instance, if the most important thing to you is portability, I think this camera, although it is small, it is not pocketable. And although it's smaller than most DSLRs, if you don't like carrying too many things around, this might not be the camera for you. But if you like to carry a small bag with maybe a couple extra batteries, I think this camera has so many features that it's worth the weight that it has, which is not much. But if, like I said, if portability is like a big thing, maybe the Ricoh GRIII is the best bet because that camera is a lot lighter, and that one you can put in you know, your pants pocket, which some people might not recommend because of dust issues that I've never experienced, but there are some reports of dust in those cameras. But that camera is definitely more pocketable. So the other question I got quite often was, is the Fujifilm X100V as good as the Leica Q2? And I would say it depends. So if what's important to you is a bigger megapixel count with a 47 megapixel sensor that camera has and it's full frame, then I would say the Leica Q2 is a really, really good camera. And I think with that lens that it comes with is beautiful. So it's obviously a great choice. But if you want a lot of the same dials that you would in the Leica Q2 and the simplicity of it, and you want a camera that's really fun to shoot and easy to bring around, I think the Fujifilm X100V is a great camera. And I think if those two things or those three things are not as important to you, I think this is a great choice, and it definitely is up there with those kinds of cameras. So if you have any questions on the Fujifilm X100V and what it's like to shoot or anything like that, please leave it in the comments below. I'm always down to talk shop with anybody. You know, like I said, I love talking cameras, so if you have any questions whatsoever, I'll do my best to answer them. Again, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, and if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe for more future videos. Thanks. Bye.